Some people smile at you and still secretly hate the way you make them feel about themselves. They do not always hate you because you harmed them. Sometimes they hate you because your existence exposes something they are trying very hard not to face. And the most painful part is, you can sense it before you can explain it. You walk into a room and the energy changes. Someone's face tightens for half a second. Their compliment feels sharp around the edges. Their kindness feels performed. They laugh when others are watching, but when you are alone with them, something cold slips through. You tell yourself you are overthinking. You tell yourself not everyone has to like you. You tell yourself maybe they are just tired, distracted, stressed, busy. But deep down, you know there are people around you who do not simply dislike you. They secretly resent you. They may even hate you more than you realize, not loudly, not openly, not in a way you can confront, but quietly, in the shadows of their behavior. And the real reason is not what most people think. People rarely hate you because of who you are alone. More often, they hate what they see in themselves when they are around you. Your confidence may remind them of their insecurity. Your peace may expose their chaos. Your growth may make them feel left behind. Your honesty may disturb the stories they tell themselves. Your boundaries may feel like rejection to someone who is used to control. Your happiness may feel like an insult to someone who has secretly built an identity around suffering. This is why hidden hatred can be so confusing. It does not always come from your enemies. Sometimes it comes from people who know you, laugh with you, follow your life, ask questions about your plans, and pretend to celebrate your wins. But underneath that polite surface, something in them is keeping score. They notice when you are doing better. They notice when people admire you. They notice when you seem calm without needing approval. And instead of asking, "What can I learn from this person?" their mind whispers, "Why them? Why not me?" That whisper is where resentment begins. Imagine you have a friend who is always supportive when your life is messy. When you are confused, heartbroken, insecure, or struggling, they are there, they listen, they advise, they feel needed. You think this person really cares about me. But then something changes. You start improving. You stop complaining as much. You get a better opportunity. You become more selective with your time. You no longer need constant emotional rescue. And suddenly, their warmth becomes strange. Their replies get shorter. Their jokes become slightly insulting. Their advice becomes discouraging. They say things like, "Don't get too excited," or "You've changed," or "I just hope you know what you're doing." On the surface, it sounds like concern. But sometimes concern is just jealousy wearing clean clothes. This is where it becomes dangerous because secret hate rarely introduces itself as hate. It enters as sarcasm. It enters as fake concern. It enters as comparison. It enters as silence when you need support and sudden interest when you fail. It does not always attack you directly. It waits for moments where you are vulnerable, then plants tiny doubts in your mind. And after a while, you start shrinking without realizing it. You stop sharing good news because their reaction ruins the joy. You soften your success so they do not feel uncomfortable. You make yourself smaller to keep the peace. You explain your decisions too much. You laugh at jokes that hurt you. You pretend not to notice the shift in their tone. And slowly, your nervous system learns that being fully yourself around certain people is not safe. That is the hidden cost of being secretly hated. It does not always destroy your reputation first. Sometimes it teaches you to betray yourself before anyone else has to. But there is another layer. Some people secretly hate you because they once felt superior to you, and your growth disrupted the hierarchy they were comfortable with. They were fine with you as long as you stayed in the role they assigned to you. The funny one, the broken one, the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who always says yes, the one who needs advice, the one who never outshines anyone, the one who makes everyone else feel safe because you do not threaten their ego. Then you changed. Maybe you became more disciplined. Maybe you became more attractive. Maybe you started speaking with more clarity. Maybe you stopped tolerating disrespect. Maybe you began receiving attention they believed belonged to them, and suddenly the version of you they could manage disappeared. People do not always hate the real you. Sometimes they hate the version of you they can no longer control. There is a quiet violence in that. Not physical violence, not obvious cruelty, but the emotional violence of someone punishing you for becoming harder to manipulate. They may not even fully understand what they are doing. They only know that your independence makes them uncomfortable. Your self-respect feels like distance. Your confidence feels arrogant. Your silence feels like betrayal. Your boundaries feel like an attack. Not because you became cruel, but because you stopped being convenient. Think about the workplace. There is one person who always appears friendly. They ask about your weekend. They smile when you speak. They act relaxed around everyone. But every time your name comes up in a positive way, something changes in their face. They interrupt with a correction. They add a little criticism. They say, well, they still have a lot to learn, or, yeah, but that project was easy, or honestly, anyone could have done that. At first it seems small, too small to complain about, too subtle to accuse them, but that is exactly why it works. Secret hatred survives by staying just below the level of proof. It gives you enough evidence to feel the truth, but not enough evidence to explain it without sounding paranoid. And this is where your mind starts doing something dangerous. Instead of trusting your perception, you begin interrogating yourself. Was I too sensitive? Did I imagine that? Maybe they did not mean it. Maybe I am being dramatic. Maybe I should be nicer. Maybe I should prove I am not a threat. This is how people who secretly resent you gain power. Not always by controlling what others think of you, but by making you doubt what you know. The deeper truth is that hate often grows from comparison. And comparison is not just about wanting what someone else has. It is about feeling humiliated by their existence. When someone compares themselves to you and believes they are losing, they may not simply feel inspired. They may feel exposed. They may feel small. They may feel behind. And if they do not have the emotional maturity to face that feeling, they turn it outward. Instead of saying, I feel insecure, they say, you think you're better than everyone. Instead of saying, I wish I had your courage, they say, you're doing too much. Instead of saying, your success makes me question my choices, they say, you got lucky. Projection is one of the mind's oldest escape routes. People throw their shame onto you because carrying it inside themselves feels unbearable. They accuse you of arrogance when they feel inferior. They accuse you of selfishness when they feel ignored. They accuse you of changing when they feel abandoned by your growth. And the painful part is, if you are empathetic, you may start absorbing accusations that were never yours to carry. You may try to become less visible, less expressive, less confident, less joyful. You may start editing yourself in real time. You speak, then immediately check their face. You share, then minimize it. You succeed, then apologize with your tone. You become emotionally careful around people who should have been safe. But everything we have talked about so far is only the visible part. The deeper damage happens when this pattern starts changing the way you see yourself. Because once you feel secretly hated enough times, You may begin to believe there is something wrong with being seen. You may start associating attention with danger, praise with punishment, success with loneliness, confidence with rejection. You may begin to think, maybe if I stay ordinary enough, no one will resent me. Maybe if I am useful enough, no one will abandon me. Maybe if I never shine too much, I can finally be accepted. And that is when hidden hatred wins. Not when someone talks behind your back. It wins when you begin living as if your light is an inconvenience. There is a reason this hurts so much. Human beings are wired for belonging. Your brain does not treat social rejection like a minor inconvenience. It treats it like a threat. To be disliked by one person may not logically matter, but emotionally, especially if you grew up needing approval to feel safe, someone's coldness can feel like danger. Your body notices tone, silence, facial expressions, delayed replies, excluded invitations, fake laughter. It collects tiny signals and tries to protect you. So when people secretly hate you, your mind may become hyper-aware. You scan rooms, you replay conversations, you feel responsible for moods that are not yours. You try to solve emotional equations with missing numbers. You wonder why someone's energy changed. You wonder what you did wrong. And if you are not careful, their resentment becomes your obsession. But here is the part most people miss. The fact that someone hates you does not always mean you did something wrong. Sometimes it means you became a mirror they did not ask for. There are people who can tolerate your pain, but not your power. They can sit beside you when you are broken because your brokenness makes them feel important. They can support your dreams when those dreams are far away because distant success is not threatening. They can complement your potential as long as it remains potential. But when your potential becomes visible, when your healing becomes real, when your voice becomes steady, when your life begins moving, their support starts collapsing. They were not supporting your freedom. They were supporting the version of you that kept them comfortable. This is why some people turn cold right when your life begins to improve. It is not random. Your progress changed the emotional contract they thought they had with you. You were supposed to remain familiar, predictable, available, slightly below them. And when you stepped out of that role, they experienced it as a personal loss. A woman once spent years being the easy friend. She was always available. She replied instantly. She helped everyone move, listened to every crisis, said yes to every plan, laughed even when she was tired. Everyone called her sweet. Everyone loved her. But when she started saying no, the love became conditional. One friend said, "You're acting different lately." Another stopped inviting her. Someone joked that she had become too good for people. For the first time, she realized something painful. Some of the love she received was not love for who she was. It was approval for how useful she had been. And when usefulness disappears, fake affection often reveals its teeth. That is why secret hate can feel like betrayal, because it is not always coming from strangers who never understood you. Sometimes it comes from people who benefited from the old version of you. People who loved your lack of boundaries, people who enjoyed your self-doubt, people who felt powerful when you needed them, people who praised your kindness while quietly depending on your inability to disappoint them. But when you start choosing yourself, they call it ego. When you stop over-explaining, they call it attitude. When you protect your peace, they call it distance. When you outgrow the pattern, they call it betrayal. And now the hidden reason becomes clearer. People secretly hate you when your growth threatens the role they created for themselves in your life. This is also why their hatred may become stronger when others admire you. Private insecurity becomes public discomfort. It is one thing for them to resent you quietly. It is another thing for other people to validate the very qualities they wanted to dismiss. When someone praises you in front of them, they are forced to witness a reality they have been trying to deny. And because they cannot always attack the praise directly, they poison it subtly. They say, "Yeah, but you don't know the whole story." They say, "They're not always like that." They say, "People only see the good side." They turn your humanity into evidence against you. This is one of the darkest tricks of resentment. It does not need to prove you are bad. It only needs to make people uncertain about your goodness. A small doubt placed carefully can do more damage than a loud accusation, and the person doing it can still look innocent. But listen closely. Someone else's resentment does not reveal your worth. It reveals their wound. This does not mean you are perfect. It does not mean every person who dislikes you is jealous. Sometimes people dislike us because we made mistakes, because we hurt them, because we were careless, because personalities clash. Emotional intelligence means being willing to examine yourself without turning every critic into an enemy. But there is a difference between honest dislike and hidden resentment. Honest dislike has clarity. It has distance. It does not need to sabotage you. Hidden resentment watches you closely. It studies your weaknesses. It smiles when you fall. It competes silently. It turns your joy into a threat. It wants access to you but not peace with you. And this is where self-recognition matters. Ask yourself, around whom do you feel the need to become smaller? Around whom do you hide your excitement? Around whom do you feel guilty for being happy? Around whom does your body tighten before your mind has a reason? Around whom do you feel praised and punished at the same time? Your body often recognizes emotional danger before your logic can build a case. That does not mean every uncomfortable feeling is proof, but it does mean you should stop dismissing your own perception just because someone else is skilled at pretending. Some people are not openly cruel because open cruelty would cost them their image. So they become quietly cruel. They withhold warmth. They give backhanded compliments. They celebrate you only when your success is small enough not to threaten them. They support you only when your pain confirms their importance. They keep you close enough to monitor you, but not close enough to truly love you. That kind of hatred is confusing because it wears the mask of relationship. And maybe the hardest truth is this: sometimes people secretly hate you because they need you to fail in order to feel okay about themselves. Your failure comforts them. Your confusion reassures them. Your insecurity lowers the emotional pressure they feel in your presence. When you struggle, they can relax because the comparison is no longer painful. That is why some people become strangely available when you are down and strangely absent when you are rising. They do not miss you. They miss feeling above you. But once you understand this, something changes. You stop begging for warmth from people who benefit from your coldness. You stop performing humility for people who were never going to celebrate you anyway. You stop confusing their discomfort with your wrongdoing. You stop handing your identity to people who only liked you when you were easier to control. And no, this does not mean becoming bitter. It does not mean suspecting everyone. It does not mean walking through life thinking every smile is fake. That would only trap you in the same fear. The point is not to become paranoid. The point is to become clear. Clear enough to see that not every person deserves access to the most alive parts of you. Clear enough to understand that being disliked is sometimes the price of becoming whole. Clear enough to know that secret hatred often grows in the space between who people wanted you to be and who you finally became. The strange freedom is that you do not need to make everyone comfortable with your growth. You do not need to explain your healing to people who preferred your wounds. You do not need to apologize for becoming harder to manipulate. You do not need to keep proving your goodness to people committed to misunderstanding you. Some people will hate you because you remind them of what they abandoned in themselves. Some people will hate you because you left a version of life they are still trapped inside. Some people will hate you because your peace exposes their chaos. And some people will hate you simply because they cannot control the way others see your light. But their hatred does not have to become your identity. It can become information. It can show you who cannot handle your fullness. It can show you where you have been shrinking. It can show you the rooms where your nervous system never rests. It can show you the difference between love that expands you and attachment that cages you. The main loop closes here. People secretly hate you more than you realize, not because you are necessarily cruel, dangerous, or unworthy, but because human beings often resent what threatens their ego, their control, their comparison, and their carefully protected self-image. You became evidence of something they did not want to feel, and because they could not face that feeling inside themselves, they placed it on you. So the next time you sense that strange coldness behind someone's smile, do not rush to hate them back. Do not rush to prove yourself. Do not rush to disappear. Pause. Watch the pattern. Listen to your body. Notice who claps only when you are losing. Notice who becomes uncomfortable when you are calm. Notice who calls your growth arrogance because they no longer benefit from your insecurity. And remember this. You were not born to be small enough for wounded people to feel powerful. You were not created to live as someone else's emotional convenience. Some people will only love you when you are easy to use, easy to read, easy to control, easy to place beneath them. But the people who truly see you will not need you to shrink in order to feel safe. They will not punish your healing. They will not compete with your peace. They will not secretly hate the parts of you that are finally coming alive. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them reveal themselves. Your job is not to be hated less by people who were never ready to love you honestly. Your job is to stop abandoning yourself just to remain acceptable to them. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more deep psychology and human behavior. Until next time.